Welcome, everybody. We are now live. We're now live on LinkedIn. We're now live on YouTube. And we're going to have a great podcast today. In this podcast, we're going to cover a lot of things when it comes to this market. This market is treacherous right now. We got the government shutdown. People are trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to get in the field. So in this podcast, we're going to have a great guest today of the Tech Woke podcast. We have Fatima Kargbo. Gaithers. She's been working as a recruiter in big tech. She has navigated the space. She does great at her job. I'm telling people what they need to do, how to get into the field, and how to navigate it. And she's highly recommended. So without further ado, Fatima, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, how are you?
I was doing good. And also to the audience, if you're tuning in and you had a question that you want to get answered through the podcast, put it in and we're going to have a question and answer section towards the end. But it's great having you on, especially on a weekday. I know you can be sleeping, resting. I know there's a lot going on in the tech space, ain't it?
Yes, there's too much going on right now. But thank you so much for having me. I'm
Okay, no
excited.
problem. I'm excited too. So for the audience that's watching, we're watching all over the internet. Can you explain who you are? Just tell the audience who you are, what you do, what have you done in this industry, just little things like that.
Yeah. So, hi everybody. My name's Fatima Kargbo Gathers. I am located here in Atlanta, but I am from Jacksonville, Florida, by way of Boston. So, um, I have been within the HR space for about 15 years, doing various things, but recruiting has been the most poignant thing that I've done, as well as program management and community engagement. And I am the jack of all trades. So I love to do a lot of things, but at the core of it, I love to help people. I love to help people be able to realize their best selves and actualize their best selves and being able to put their self at the forefront when they're going through the interviewing and recruitment process. So just happy to be a resource. And, if you want to connect with me, please feel free to do that on LinkedIn or online. I'm happy to help.
Okay, that's some good information. So for everybody, we both know in this market, and shout out to NC Worker, they say good evening, everyone. This is a tough tech market. A lot of people are trying to get into the space. They're trying to navigate the field. How do you particularly get a job right now? Is there jobs open? What's your thoughts on that?
There's plenty of jobs open, but I think approaching the job search and approaching the job market, you have to be creative and you have to be patient too. There was such a huge upset in the tech industry back in 2023. That's when it all started, and since then, there's been a lot of ebbs and flows. Right now, since we are going through a lot of things with the government, there's even more, I, I guess, strife, if you will, in terms of looking for a job. But I think the main thing is being able to network. At the core of it, in the beginning, everything was all about who you know. And, the more people that know what you're trying to do and what you're interested in and what types of roles you want to go in, those people can be your advocates for you. So I think it's what's most important is just being able to put yourself out there and network on LinkedIn, go to networking events in your area if you're able to, and just really put yourself out there that way, because you never know who else is in the room listening. You never know who else is in the rooms that you're not in that can really be your advocate and speak up for you. Yes, it's great to apply to jobs, and we all have to apply. That's the main way to do it. But I think if you do the work on the back end, applying for a role will be just the last thing that you do, because you already had those conversations and you already have, people who can vouch for you and good recommendations.
Yeah, so I understand that aspect of it. Like, and I'm asking for myself, like networking on where do you find the network? Because I've noticed that when I go to networking events, sometimes it can be more parties and things like that. So it's kind of hard to network. So I tried networking on LinkedIn, but when you're connecting to people, like, what do you say? How do you get that person to trust you? How do you get that person to give you opportunity to put you in a position to get a job? Because even with recommendations, if you're giving somebody a recommendation, you're kind of you're putting your name in a way on the line.
Exactly. So, you're not just going to connect with somebody on LinkedIn and then the next day they're like, "Oh, I vouch for you. I put my name on it," I think there's an art to networking. When you reach out to people on LinkedIn, make it a conversation. If I say do targeted research in terms of what type of job you're targeting, what type of industry you want to go into, and then do your research on the connections that you already have that are in those fields that you're interested in. And then also, if you want to broaden your search, look for other people, the new people that you can connect with. And then when you connect with those people, make it light, short and sweet, because everyone's busy. I really enjoy looking at your background and would love to learn more. Can we connect for a coffee chat? Just making it light and reaching out to people that way. And then also utilizing the network you already have. I would start there first and then start connecting with new people. You'll be surprised with the amount of response that you get from people that you're already connected with that maybe you haven't had a chance to talk to in a while, or you haven't had an opportunity to really dive in and learn about them. So if they're in your city, especially, schedule some time to go get some coffee. I mean, it starts with a conversation. Everything starts with a conversation and getting to know somebody. And once they get to know you and they feel comfortable with you and they feel comfortable in what you could potentially bring to the table, no matter what position is, then that person would be more likely to recommend you.
Yeah, I love that, and I like what you said too. Like, go to who you already know first, and see if
Yeah,
they can get you where you need to go. They know you. You want a recommendation, they can get you that recommendation.
exactly. And we usually, of course, of course, you have a variety of friends. Most people have a variety of friends, but you have people who are kind of in your similar space. So I would start there and then branch out, because it's like I said, it's a trickle down effect. You never know who's in the room. You never know who will um, say, "Oh, I have a perfect person for you that would be a good fit." Connect with them on LinkedIn, or here's their phone number. So you got to speak up, because people won't know what you're trying to do if you don't tell them.
Yeah, and then also too, I've noticed like for me, I post a lot on LinkedIn about what I do, what I'm learning. Do you think that as a recruiter, if you're hiring for a position and you're connected with somebody and you see that they're posting about what you're trying to hire for, does that help out a lot too?
Yeah, that definitely helps out. There's a thin line though between doing it too much versus just posting enough. Now, if you're posting like relevant information, or you're posting articles, or you have an article yourself that you want to talk about, that is great, because especially like for me, I'm connected to a lot of people. So if I open my LinkedIn and I happen to see your post and you're in the field that I'm looking for, or I have a position that I'm looking for, and you're within that field or job function, I definitely will take a look and kind of look at your background and see if there's a match there. And if not, then I'll take a look at other people who are connected with to that person and then go from there. So yes, it's great to be engaging, because that's how you work towards creating your personal brand too, because you are putting information out there that's important to you, but it's also information that's helpful to others as well.
Yeah, like I said, it can be excessive. I see some people that just put anything on LinkedIn and it's not really helping or
Yeah.
like really helping your case. So I get what you're saying, and like you said, a personal brand where like we talked about, a personal brand is where we're at right now. If you don't have a personal brand, you won't get a job.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't necessarily, because I know there's a lot of people who are shy, and who don't necessarily like to be out there. Like for me personally, there are times where I can be a extrovert, and then there's times where I'm an introvert, where I just want to be by myself and get my thoughts together. And so um, if you are an extreme introvert, it's hard for you to be that person to post all the time and be in front of the camera. But you don't necessarily have to do that. You can engage by, um, you know, amplifying information that's important to you, or commenting on people's pages that are similar to you and what you're doing, because that keeps you in the fold. So there's other
No,
things you could do.
no, I love that. Yeah, that's great to hear. And also too, I had a question too. It just popped in my head, like with posting and social media and talking about what you do and building a personal brand, can that affect your jobs? Because I question that too. I'm like, and I'm not getting jobs because they're looking at my LinkedIn. They scared, or what's your thoughts?
So sometimes it depends, right? It depends on the type of company you're working for. It depends on what rules are in place. Of course, you're supposed to be able to have freedom of speech and post what you want, but at, sometimes it comes at a cost, right? I've seen that happen to a lot of my friends. Um, and it's hard to have that fine line, especially when you're in the HR recruitment space, because you have to be on LinkedIn. You have to connect with people. You have to engage and put things out there. But, you just have to be cognizant of what the space calls for, like for me on my LinkedIn, I'll post, if there's articles that are important to me, I'll post that, but mostly I'm posting about different positions that are available, or sharing different positions that I see to connections or clients that are looking for opportunities. um, I basically utilize LinkedIn as a resource, of course, to recruit in my everyday job, but also to connect people. And if I know that you're looking for a job and there's a way that I can help you, or connect you with someone, and you can utilize my network, then I'm here to do that.
No, I love that. So this is another thing that I think of as a person that's looking for jobs. Recruiters, I see on LinkedIn. You got different websites, different job boards. Like, where are you actually sourcing people to find jobs?
That's a good question. So we are in a different day and age right now. So there's a lot of different resources that recruiters can use to be more effective, and in terms of being able to look through candidates or identify candidates quicker. One of the advantages of working for a startup is being able to have different types of products being, I don't want to say sold to us, but opportunities to use different products to see what works, in terms of being able to source candidates. So there's a lot of new tools that are out there for recruiters to use that help us to be able to get through and connect to candidates on LinkedIn, be able to look for candidates that may not be looking, they may be passively looking for opportunities. So being able to utilize resources um, that our companies give us is a way that we're able to identify candidates. But recruiters do heavily utilize LinkedIn, Indeed, the regular platforms, Glassdoor. But with the different products that I mentioned, they kind of scrub those websites and then provide all of the information in one space. But it's always great to have your LinkedIn profile up to date, have a professional picture, because LinkedIn at the end of the day is for professional professionals. It's not Facebook. So, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have all of your professional information on there. I see some people link their resumes. You can do that too. But I say, whenever I talk to clients, I say to utilize your resume as a place to list all of your skill sets, your relevant skill sets in regards to the positions that you're looking for. And then also utilize LinkedIn as a way to kind of elaborate on that. So look at your resume as like the appetizer, and then LinkedIn as a place to kind of this, maybe the second date, the opportunity to kind of, tell a little bit more about yourself. Use the about me section to make it, fun and catchy, but at the same time, put some aspects in there that really make a recruiter want to talk to you a little bit more.
And I love to hear that because like you said, a resume is just a piece of paper. I'm looking at the piece of paper. Who are you? What you look like? Nice picture. Because I see some people with kind of iffy pictures and iffy, they don't tell what do you do. Or sometimes you can say, hey, I do this. But when you look at your actual work experience, it says you do something else, like accounting,
Yeah.
versus you say you do in your bio, it says you're in cyber.
Yeah. So you have to make sure that it matches. And then also make sure that the information, now a resume yes, it's a piece of paper, but it's an important piece of paper, because you have to make sure that if you're targeting certain types of roles, you have that relevant information on there, because recruiters only have a limited amount of time to review resumes. And if you don't have the pertinent information on there, we're moving on to the next candidate, because we are working with hiring managers that need to fill their positions like yesterday. So
Oh yeah, now I understand. So, like the thing that I've noticed too, there's a lot of people that are consultants that help over resumes. You got people that's creating resumes. What about AI resumes? Are you noticing that? Like, explain from as a recruiter, you see an AI resume. Does it flag in the system? Is it good to have, or what's your thoughts on it?
no, I mean, there's no flag in the system. And I know I get this question a lot, like um if AI reviews resumes. For me personally, in every recruiting job that I've ever had, I've always been the person looking at resumes. So um I like to make sure that the candidates have the pertinent information on their resume. And if you have a lot of fluff on your resume and you're not really speaking to what you've done, and it, like, to your point, it doesn't match with what's on your LinkedIn profile and it doesn't make sense, then I don't feel comfortable advocating for you to the hiring manager, because at the end of the day, the recruiter is your advocate. So if that recruiter feels strongly about you and you make a great first impression, which your resume is your first impression, then you know you have a better chance of getting through the process. And then also making sure that if you're applying to a certain type of position and your experience is all the way left field, use your resume to be able to connect the dots and make it make sense. Because if I get a resume that doesn't correlate with the position I'm recruiting for, I'm gonna move on. So
No, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. I know it when we're looking at a resume. You only got how long? How first off, how long do you look at it? And then what are you looking for? Are you looking for keywords, or are you just going to the beginning? Like, kind of break that down to me.
so before any position opens, any requisition opens, the recruiters have um, a sync with the hiring managers. So uh, that's the opportunity to talk to the hiring manager about, one, making sure that the job description or the job posting makes sense and all of the information that they want to list on the job posting is there. But the other purpose of that meeting is to be able to glean additional information from the hiring manager, in terms of what is your team like? What are some other tools or software systems or um, programming systems, depending on the role? What exactly are you looking for? So being able to have a good understanding from the hiring manager helps me to be able to identify the right candidate for that role. So when I'm looking at resumes, I'm taking my notes from that meeting, any additional conversations that we've had, or like if like for example, if we put the posting out there and the hiring manager says, you know what, I want to add this or I want to tweak this, or can you, under preferred skills, if there's a candidate that has this, particular skill set, or if they have a clearance, I really prefer candidates that have a clearance. So I'm looking, those are the main things that I'm looking for. So if I see those top things first, then those are the candidates I'm going to put to the side. And then once I put those candidates to the side, compare those, and then reach out to the strongest ones.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so I got you. So you make sure, audience, if you're listening, make sure you pay attention. That's very valuable information because it's helping you get a job, especially in this market. So for Tima, like I had another question also. With there's a lot of new people, especially I know you're a tech recruiter. There's a lot of people trying to get into tech. I know preferably they say, okay, they have all these hundreds of thousands cybersecurity roles that are not being filled, but we both know that they're looking for experienced people. But there's in a way, and then also too, there's a lot of newcomers coming into the field.
Mhm.
They're not getting opportunities. They're not getting jobs. They're not being put into place, and they're getting mad, and it's a lot going on with that. What would you recommend to like a newcomer coming into the field of tech as a recruiter?
Well, I get a lot of people that say, I want to go into tech. Okay, that's great. You want to go into tech, but what do you want to do in tech? And I get crickets. So it's like, I think you getting into tech is not just working for the FANG companies, Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, all of those, the companies of the world, right? There's so many different industries that have technology woven into it. So my thing is, if you want to get into tech, look at industries that have longevity. Because honestly, working for a huge tech company is great, but you have the risk of being laid off. You have the risk of being in a role where you're competing with thousands of people. When I worked at my old company, um, which is one of the largest tech companies in the world, there's a lot of competition. There can be one requisition, and I can have over 1,000 applicants. So, of course, you can't, it's not humanly possible to sit there and spend time looking through 1,000 applicants for one role. So, I think diversifying your search and really thinking about what it is you want to do within the tech space is where you need to start. So that way, when you come to someone like myself or like you, and you say, I want to be in tech, you're able to have an elevator pitch to back that up and talk about why you want to be in tech. To answer your question, though, yes, it's great to upskill and pivot and look into cybersecurity because that is a very large emerging space, especially within the defense sector. I think it's important though to really find a mentor and find somebody that is working in that space, that is a trusted advisor to you, that can help you connect to junior level roles so you can start to get that experience. What people don't understand sometimes is that when positions are posted, hiring managers are, they have a need now. And so they want to be able to find the best talent that can come in and hit the ground running and make an immediate impact. Um,
Hmm.
yes, in every job you have to go through training and all of that, but they want someone that has that experience where they know what to do once they go through the company training, if that makes sense.
No, that
So
makes sense. Okay.
go ahead.
No, that makes 100% sense. So like for example, like how do you stand out to get that experience? And can you explain from a recruiter and working from your clients what? Because a lot of people don't have experience.
Yeah.
Um,
I say working, if you're still working for a company and you have the ability or the capacity to do like job shadowing, or like at my old company, there were stretch assignments that you can do that allows you the opportunity to work in a different department and gain experience. I think definitely try to do that. I know a lot of us sometimes are in our jobs and we're at our wits end and we're ready to quit and go and we want to get out the door. But I think if you are able to do a stretch assignment within the organization that you're already in while you're working on things in the background to upskill yourself and build yourself, that puts you in a better space to go out in the world and say, yes, I may not have years and years of experience, but I've had an opportunity to do this. And you're leaving that space with a mentor that you've already identified as well. So that person, like going back to what I said in the beginning, can be that voice in the room for you. If that person knows you, they know your work ethic, they know that, you may not know something, but you're willing to study or go take an exam or do what you need to do to be great at that role, they're going to advocate for you. So,
Yeah, I love that. So you're basically telling me, hey, you got to network at your job too. Don't that certain people say, oh yeah, I'm gonna just go to my job, put my head down, keep it pushing. You ain't gonna never grow if you do that.
no, you got to network, because even to move internally, how are other people going to know what you can do if you don't connect with them? And networking within your job means joining different ERGs. It means going to different company events. It means raising your hand sometimes for different projects. That helps you to stand out. And the more you stand out from the pack, the better opportunities you have.
Yeah, and then like taking leads on meetings sometimes. Sometimes you be like, hey, you just speak up more so they can know that you're there. So hey, they can be like, hey, Jackie has been doing their thing. So just talk.
Yeah, exactly. Because how are you, if you want to be seen as somebody that's engaged and that knows their stuff and can actually present information really well, and you never say anything, when it's time for you to maybe be a project manager, a program manager, and part of that job is to present and be in front of crowds and be in front of different types of audiences, how is your manager ever going to be able to vouch for you and speak to that you're able to do that? Or how is anybody else going to see that you can do that? So put yourself out there, push yourself, because I think being able to upskill yourself is not just going out and putting yourself through a boot camp or taking a class. It's also going the extra mile to push yourself internally outside of your comfort zone. So, and that starts with where you are.
Nah, I agree 100% on that. We also been understanding that AI is been in helping a lot of industries. Especially with recruiting. From what I've been hearing, even I've heard of recruiters doing AI recruiters doing software interviewing people and doing soft checking if you can fit for a role. Are you familiar with that, or is that new?
No, it's not new. In one of my old companies, we utilize this tool called Modern Hire. And so
Mm-hmm.
Modern Hire is where, like, let's say it's a project management role or customer service role. It doesn't really matter what position it is. We're able to load the questions in to the system, and then once we identify which candidate we want to move forward with, we send that link to them and they answer the questions on video. So, it's not a substitute for the whole interview process, but it helps us to save time on having that initial interview and being able to have that first interview and see how the candidate answers the question, how they present themselves, is their background, is it professional? Did they even take the time to dress professionally and present themselves well? All of that is taken into account. So based on those submissions that we get, we review them. The strongest ones, we share those with the hiring managers, and then the
Mm-hmm.
hiring managers from there pick which candidates they want to move forward for, like, technical interview, and then further on to the panel interview. So it's very helpful.
Yeah, because even with that, I think about it sometimes. Like we have a lot of interviews that's over the phone. So
Mhm.
sometimes people won't show their face, or
Mhm.
sometimes people won't dress up to par when they're about to, meet online with somebody. I try to come a little, come and be professional, but it
Oh,
does. So it's showing you that it does matter, right?
Oh yeah, it definitely does matter. And for me personally, even those. I sometimes have phone conversations, but I prefer video conversations because it allows the person that's interviewing a level of comfortability. I get to know you, you get to know me, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to be vouching for you to the hiring manager. If, like I said before, if I feel strongly about a candidate and I think they're going to do great, here are the reasons why, you know? So sometimes people are nervous and they show up a little bit different when they actually get to that step where they meet with the hiring manager, depending on the position. But if I have a great interaction with them, or there's some follow-up questions that the hiring manager has for me, I'll definitely have that conversation with them and say, yes, I know they could have done a little bit better in this area, but here's how the conversation went with me. And here's why I think you should give them a second look. So that's very important. First impressions are lasting impressions. And I think being thoughtful about how you present yourself in any type of interview, whether it be your first phone interview, your first Zoom interview or Teams interview, present yourself the way that you would if you're going into an office. So it's very important.
Now, I love that. And also, too, can you kind of break down like when you're speaking or doing an interview, should you know about the company? What were some things you were prep before you even do the interview?
Yeah. So
Stand
yes,
out.
yes, it's important to know about the company, what the company does, but I think even more so, what's important is being able to speak to what you have in your resume and what you've done and what you're able to bring to the table. This goes back to what you said about AI resumes. I have people who, yes, they do um, generate their resumes on Chat GPT or Copilot, but then they don't read it. So if I'm asking you if I'm asking you questions about something that you put on your resume and you can't speak to it, then that's an immediate no for me. Or on the flip side, if I'm asking you questions and you don't even give me any like meat, any information, it's just real surface. There's no explanations. How am I going to be able to speak to what you've done to the hiring manager? You know, and so when I start my conversations with candidates, I kind of give them a rundown of what we're going to do on the call, what we're going to talk about. But that's your opportunity to really hone in on what makes you great. Why should we hire you? Why do you stand out? So definitely being able to speak to what you've done, how you've been able to impact the bottom line, what kind of impact you'll be able to make to the team. Those are the most important things to talk about. Yes, do your research on the company,
Mhm.
um, but definitely be able to speak to what you can do, and then also make sure that you have some follow-up questions at the end. I have so many candidates that I ask them, do you have any additional questions for me? Is there anything else that I can elaborate on for you? And they're just like, no. And then it's just crickets, and it's like, okay, that tells me too that you didn't prepare either, because you didn't take enough time to really sit down and think about this role and what it would look like if you were in this role. Um, because at the end of the day, you're not just interviewing for a role, you're also interviewing that company to make sure it's a place you want to be at. So,
No, no, I understand. Like even when I do an interview, if I'm hearing that, I can hear the recruiter's mind. You better ask a question. You better ask something. So I can hear it. So I would recommend to the audience too, like just have a go-to. Like you know how LeBron always got that go-to shot. Yeah, you got a Floyd Mayweather. He has a go-to move he always do. Make sure you got that go-to questions you're gonna always ask.
yes, I would say prepare like 5 questions that you always ask. You don't necessarily have to ask all 5, because sometimes the recruiter will answer those questions for you during the conversation. So just at least ask one, to seem like you're interested. I would say, what is your timeline for filling this role? When would you like someone to start? Of course, you're going to have a conversation about compensation. So you'll talk about that. Really think about things that are most important to you, that you value, that you can kind of get more clarity on. So that way you leave the call feeling like you have all of your questions answered and you feel confident about the position.
Yeah, I see resilient. It stuck out what he said. He said, I had the opportunity to ask questions and I was told I'm the first to even show interest in this job. I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah.
it's sad because I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes people just don't they act like like jobs are just supposed to be handed to you, and it's hard out here. And there's a million other people that are actually going to put in the effort and try. And yes, you may have every single thing that hiring manager is looking for, but if your attitude sucks and you are entitled, you act entitled, and you act like the job is already yours. I mean, there's another person that is a better fit, because we're also looking at cultural fit too.
Mhm.
So, and how well you could potentially work on the team. So if you're approaching an interview that way, what like
Right here.
that's not a good sign.
Okay, so back to the AI too. I did want to kind of go back to that. I know we kind of went over everything, but a lot of people can when AI is filtering for jobs, right? Sometimes it can say maybe it can be. Sometimes AI can fail. So if AI fails, then I might not get a position based off of biases or them not getting to know me. How do you feel about that?
So do you mean AI? You're asking about AI potentially screening resumes when you apply?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. So again, me personally, I look at all of the resumes that come through. The only way that you would get knocked out of the consideration process is if you do not meet the minimum qualifications of a role. Rule of thumb is we need to look at every candidate that meets the minimum qualifications. So you want to make sure if you're applying to a role and it's asking you, do you have a bachelor's degree? Do you have 5 years of experience? If any one of those questions are no, then yes, the system is going to kick you out because you answered no and you don't meet the minimum qualifications. And that's something that we can control when we create the requisition. So we put those parameters there to make sure that we don't have all these people that are applying to roles that don't meet the minimum qualifications. Of course, you're going to have people who are going to say yes, and you look at their resume and they have 1 year of experience, but at least that saves us a little bit of time. So it's not a magic AI bot, just dispositioning people. For me, like I said, every company that I've worked at, I've been the one looking through resumes and screening candidates myself.
Okay,
So
that's good to know. I just want to emphasize that because even myself, I look at I apply and I'm like, why am I not getting jobs? I know it can sometimes just be the resume, and even with myself, I had to update my own resume to make sure it's that. But it's just sometimes they just not hiring because, and this is my thought. You from talking to you as a recruiter, you're telling me jobs are hiring, but it's just for people they just don't know they're hiring. So at least you told me.
yes, but at the same time, you have to remember too that hiring managers are sometimes you have you have hiring managers who are flexible in what they want, and then you have other hiring managers who are rigid and they only want to see candidates that have this type of experience, or so it's more so that than there's no jobs out there. Of course, you definitely have to be creative in terms of what search engines you're using to look for jobs, where you're applying for different jobs. But at the core of it, you have to know what type of job you want and what you're targeting, and apply specifically to those types of roles, and then do the additional work with networking and making sure that the more people that know what type of position you're looking for, those the better, because those people can be your advocates.
And I love what you're saying because you keep going back to, hey, stick to one thing. Because I talk to so many people, they want to do everything. And I'm like, You
You
do
can.
everything, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, you can. And especially since the market is so saturated, there's a lot of talented people out here. So you are competing with people that have years and years of experience or the education, or it can be a whole long list of things. So you have to be able to figure out, okay, what is my lane and what am I good at? I'm going to stay in that lane. And what are the transferable skills that I can utilize to be able to speak to when I do get to an interview?
Yeah, but the emphasis is, do they will take a chance. Somebody will take a chance on you in
Yeah,
this market,
yeah,
even if
definitely.
you're new. Even if you're new.
Definitely. You just have to stay diligent in terms of the types of roles you're applying to, who you're talking to, who you're connecting with, who you're networking. Most of the jobs that I've had in my career have been from people reaching out to me on LinkedIn. So it does work. You just have to be active and connect with people, and and put yourself out there. If you're looking for opportunities to network, look at your local SHRM chapter, Society of Human Resource Management. They're always having different types of events that you can go to. Look at Eventbrite. There's always different types of events you can attend. And then on LinkedIn, there's events that are posted that you can go to too. So you just got to do the extra research.
Okay, and also I did have one more question on that. What about job fairs? I've never got a job from a job fair. Do those work?
They work because, well, to your point, yes, job fairs, we don't accept the resumes anymore. We're going to refer you to the website to
Yeah.
apply. Or like most recently when I went to Afrotech, we had the QR codes where you scan for the different positions and you can apply. But what I will say is when I went to Afrotech, I had the opportunity to meet so many people who may not have necessarily been an immediate match for positions I had at that moment, but they made such a good first impression that whenever I saw a position within the organization or within other organizations, I encouraged them to connect with me then. So I would already be connected with them and I would share information with them. So you never know what kind of first impression you can make when you go to a career fair. So, yes, definitely go to career fairs. There is value in it. And that's where you can meet some of the recruiters, and hiring managers like to go to career fairs. So, you might have an opportunity to meet a hiring manager or get in front of a hiring manager at a career fair when otherwise you wouldn't have necessarily have that opportunity. So being able to attend if you can, I would say go.
Yeah, because you never know who you're talking to. I've been to many career fairs, job fairs, and sometimes you're talking to the CEO and you don't have no idea.
Yeah,
No
definitely.
idea.
So
So
there's
just
value.
make sure you look good. Make sure you're suited and booted, good dress, clean cut. So I love how you emphasize that. You got to make sure that you're coming prepared in first impression. You might not get another one.
Yeah, it's very hard to get a make a good second first impression. So I think being able to always, if you're always prepared, you don't have to get prepared, right? Um, and Chris, we were talking about this when we first met. I, eh, I feel like our upbringing is very similar.
Yeah.
We, our parents prepared us for the world.
Hmm.
We have African parents, so the
Hmm.
only thing that's important is education and getting a good job, and the second thing is how you show up, because you're not just showing up for yourself, you're representing your whole family, you're representing your family name. So if you shame the name, that you're going to have to hear about it. So I think being able to present yourself in a way that is, I don't want to say respectful, but you know what I mean. Presenting yourself in a way that makes your family proud, right? Makes your ancestors proud. That's what you need to do. So if you get dressed and you're like, I'm not sure if this is business casual or if this is professional dress. If you're not sure, don't wear it.
You see,
Stick with
question one time.
yes, stick with what you know as, professional. So that way you feel confident, and what's coming out of your mouth matches with how you present yourself.
No, I love that. I love to hear that. And just for the audience that's watching, you're going to get an opportunity pretty soon to answer some questions. So make sure you're tapping in, writing some comments, any questions, concerns, so we can bring it up in that session where we're going to bring all that up. Fatima, another thing, and then it's a big thing that everybody asks about: money, 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 money. How much money do you ask for when you get into these tech roles? Like, give me an example of how would you would negotiate if you're entry level, and then kind of go up to the mid or high level, and then also kind of break down what do you negotiate? How do you find the salaries? How do you know what to even ask for? It's sometimes gatekeeping in a way. Sometimes you literally got to pay a website to kind of figure out what the ranges are. So break that down to me.
Well, one, now there's a depending on what state you live in, the salary has to be posted on the requisitions.
Oh,
So
it is.
the salary should be on the requisition. If it's not, then you should already have an idea of what the salary is when you have that initial conversation with the recruiter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely ask what the range is for the role if you don't see the range posted. But something my dad taught me is, if you're going for another role and you want to ask for more, start with 20,000 more and then
Mm-hmm.
work your way up, or work your way down. Be flexible. Everyone knows their individual situation. You know your bills, you know the lifestyle you live, and you know what you need to be able to maintain that. So like for example, if you're going to if you're already in the tech space and you're making a certain range, of course, if you're moving to another role, you're going to want to make a little bit more. So you need to really think about what is the range that you're targeting. And I would say give a range, don't give a specific number. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and based on that range you provide, if the when you're having salary negotiations, if that range oscillates within what you're looking for, then you won, right? Let's say you get an offer and you get an offer for 150, right? And you're looking for 180. That's your target. Now, most companies within tech look at total compensation. So that means potential sign on bonus, RSUs or stock options, and then your base salary. So if you are flexible in terms of the other components of the offer, then sometimes you may not be able to get everything that you're looking for on the base, but you might be able to get more stock options, or you might
Mm-hmm.
be able to get a larger sign-on bonus, or there's a lot of different things that you can negotiate. So pay is not just your base salary, it's everything else that comes with it. There's some companies where you can negotiate your PTO, or any additional benefits that they have. So those are questions that you need to have at that time. Once you know the company is interested in you, that's your time to negotiate. A lot of us feel like, and when I say us, I say African Americans. um, a lot of us feel like you can't negotiate because they might rescind the job, or it will look like I'm not grateful for being offered the job. But companies expect you to negotiate. If you don't negotiate, it's like, what's happening? So
Confused and desperate. You like sometimes you can say like you're desperate or you're just trying to get in here. Like it's a red flag to them.
yeah, so definitely negotiate your salary. And if once you understand what range you want to stay in, then that gives you more confidence to be able to speak to what components of the offer are most important to you. Sometimes, like I volunteer for Hire Heroes. And that's an organization that helps people who are coming out of the military and going into civilian jobs. Um, so I help them with like interview prep, salary negotiation, resume
Mhm.
writing, things like that. So I had this one person that I worked with that got an opportunity, and they weren't able to increase the base salary for him,
Mhm.
but they were able to give him a sign-on bonus where they weren't even talking about a sign-on bonus with him. So when he showed me his offer, I said, okay, these are the areas where you can try to see if there's any wiggle room. And he went back and he was like, okay, well, because the base is not exactly where I want to be, it was maybe like 10,000 off from what he was looking for. So it wasn't that far off. But they ended up giving him a 20 or $30,000 sign-on bonus, which offset what he was looking for with his base. So that, gave him additional money that he wasn't even going to get. They didn't even offer him a sign-on bonus. So
I see.
it's just being able to think about what other things are important to you that would make the offer make sense. And sometimes it's not all about money, right? Sometimes it's about having work-life balance or being able to have flexibility. A lot of companies are wanting you to go back in office, and work in office 5 days a week. But like, I'll use myself as an example. I've been working in remote or hybrid positions for the past 7 or 8 years. I mean,
Mhm. Oh, it's good.
it's possible to be productive and do what you need to do while working at home. So if there is a um, opportunity to kind of negotiate that, that's something you can potentially negotiate. Like some companies want you to work in the office 4 days a week. Hey, is there an opportunity for me to do 2 days a week? So there's different things that you can negotiate. It's not just salary.
So basically, you're saying everything's negotiable.
Yeah, depending on the company, but you
Oh,
have to ask, you have to feel comfortable having these conversations. Sometimes people don't want to bring it up because they're like, "Oh, I'm afraid they'll take the offer." I mean, they already extended the offer to you. So now it's time to talk money or talk about, the different components of the offer that is important to you. So that way you leave that conversation feeling good and you feel comfortable and excited about your next opportunity. Because once you get into the company, you're going to get the standard 2 to 3% raise, and you're not really going to have an opportunity to get as much as you could potentially get in the beginning.
yeah, I know that very well. Once you get the money, you're gonna stuck with it for the next 4 to 5 years or probably longer.
Yeah, depending on the role. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you get those annual bonuses and, you know, 2 to 3%.
yeah. So make sure you ask questions, audience that you listen to, and shout out to Jesse. Hello, Chris. Hello, Christopher Fatima. Hey, Jesse, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Uh, yeah. So we're gonna start slowly getting into the questions, Fatima. You answered a lot of great questions, and I'm glad you broke that down. It's really helping the audience. Hey, if it's helping you out, make sure you say something in the chat. Make sure you say something, chat. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out Fatima's LinkedIn. Check out her business. So Fatima, I just wanted to get it in there. Like you do this as a business, also. Can you break down what your business is? How do you help people? Where to find you on that?
Yeah, sure. So I back in 2020, I started a business called Higher Influence Consulting, where I help people with resume writing, interview prep, salary negotiation, or if people just want to talk and need a different perspective on how they're presenting themselves in the interview process and how they show up, or give them different ideas on, just strategizing. So I do that as a business because people used to ask me all the time. And with everything that we went through in 2020, that was like a wake up call for everyone. It's like, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to reinvent myself? What other things can I do if I do lose my job, or if things shut down? How can I continue to go? So that's why I decided to start my business, to be able to help people put their best foot forward. So I am working on revamping my Instagram. You can visit my LinkedIn. You can visit my website. It's higherinfluenceconsulting.com, and Chris will have all of the links posted in the chat and in the video as well.
Actually, I'm gonna post in the chat right now, but you can also check out YouTube. I'm gonna make sure that I put it in the chat. Actually, I'm gonna do it right now. 1 second, I'll do it real quick.
Okay.
Because she's giving a lot of good information. I want to make sure that y'all checking her out because who better to help you out than an actual recruiter?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just created my LinkedIn page. So I definitely encourage everyone who's here to go to my LinkedIn page, Higher Influence Consulting, and follow me there so I can increase my followers and connect with you through that page. But you're always welcome to go to my personal LinkedIn page, Fatima Kargbo Gather. So it's just if you put in my full name, you'll link with me there too.
Yeah, and for the audience, I put her links inside the chat. So make sure you're checking it out. So just check it out. If you need help, check her out. So thank you, Fatima, on that portion. So for the audience, we're gonna ask some couple questions. We got probably like 5 to 10 minutes on that, and then we're gonna close it out. But if anybody have any questions, I'm gonna go through real quick and see if there's any questions. And again, check out her check out her business, Hire Influencer, and let me pull up the actual website. So make sure you check her out. Here we go. So make sure you go on hireinfluenceconsulting.com and check her out if you need any resume help. Definitely will help her out. And also it will help you out because she knows the inside and she does this for a living.
Right. So if you want me to take a look at your resume and just do a resume review, we can do that too. You can schedule a coffee chat for us to talk, or and from that coffee chat, we can determine whether or not we need to do a full resume revamp. I also do LinkedIn profiles as well.
Okay. So we're gonna go into questions. Philippe, he says, how does the resume template should look like for better visibility?
So there isn't any one specific template or format, but of course you want to make sure that it looks professional. It has all of the relevant information that is that correlates with the position or your experience. And then of course, like when I do resumes, I always have a section that has your core competencies, your technical skills. So that way, when a recruiter is looking at it, we can easily go to the different sections and find the information and see if you meet those minimum qualifications. So the easier your resume is to read and follow, the better.
Okay. So we have Resilient. He says, from a resume perspective, how many bullet points per experience is enough?
For me personally, I put 5 or 6, depending on like the person's experience. Really, you only need about 10 years of relevant experience on your resume, because sometimes for those people that have years and years of experience, your resumes could turn into 4 or 5 pages. And you really want to make sure that your resumes are at least 2 pages max. So being able to hit within those bullets, being able to hit the pertinent points in terms of like having metrics on your resume, any relevant information that shows how you've been able to impact the bottom line, that's most important. So having fluff on those bullets, you want to make sure your resume is prime real estate, right? So you want to make sure that the information that you have on there is eye-catching, not just to the recruiter, but to the hiring manager as well.
Some good information. So we have Kevin Finnegan. What are the ranges for your resume help?
So it depends on what you need. For professional resumes, I start at like 400, but depending on your situation, I do work with people. So that's why I like to have those conversations individually to see how we can work things out. Because at the end of the day, my purpose, yes, I'm a business, but I'm here to help people be able to get jobs and put their best foot forward. So I realize that things are interesting right now. So if we need to work out something, I'm here to help you at the end of the day.
Okay. Did we get to this question? Kenneth Lard Landrun said best way to ask for a salary negotiation.
Well, you don't necessarily ask for a salary negotiation. When you get to the end and you get an offer, that's when you naturally negotiate salary. You don't do it in your first conversation. Yes, you have you talk about what the range is for the role and all of that, and you make sure that you're comfortable with the range, and you provide the range that you're looking for. But the time to negotiate a salary is when you get an offer.
Okay. So we have a Wayne Michelle. What jobs are you seeing an increase? What areas of opportunity and position names?
Like I said, cybersecurity, healthcare. Um, Gosh, there's so many different industries right now. Um, there's med tech, healthcare tech, construction, infrastructure, logistics. So it's not just tech, the tech industry. That's why I said really do your homework on the different industries that you have an interest in. And then if tech is really what you want to do and gain some experience, then look at technical roles within those specific industries. Like for example, healthcare is not going anywhere. So if you are someone that is trying to break into tech, but you have a long history of working in healthcare, leverage that. Look for roles within your current organization that can allow you to get that experience, so that way you can pivot into a big tech company if that's what your final goal is.
Okay, that's a good answer. Okay, so anybody, do we have any last minute questions? Make sure you ask them if you got them. Uh, so we're gonna ask a couple more questions. Make sure you ask. We said Kenneth. He said I'm in healthcare, breaking into cyber. So
Yeah.
I hear you on that, Kenneth. Make sure you ask some more questions. I'm gonna give it about a minute or two. Any last minute questions? Anybody? Anybody that's on YouTube? And if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, make sure you liking the video. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you comment. Make sure you share the video. Make sure you're checking everything out to help the channel grow over time. To help you out, you got to help me out. And that's all I'm asking for you. It's free to share, you know?
Yep.
And also, check out Higher Influence Consulting to see if you can get some resume help. Okay, so the link is in the chat. But does anybody have any last minute questions? Nobody? I'm gonna give it 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so no questions. Okay, got you.
Well, I have a
So
question for you.
go ahead.
So, what made you want to start this platform? And at the end of the day, what do you want your audience to glean from it?
For the reason why I started this platform is because when I was getting into tech, I didn't have an outlet to go to. I was a person that didn't have too many people to talk to about getting into cybersecurity, being in tech, and I thought the problems that I were having was just me and me alone. I didn't have nobody telling me their journey. I didn't have nobody telling me what problems they went through. I didn't even know it was impossible at one point to even get to a point where you can make a six-figure job. So for me, I needed that place, and there was very few places. But when I did go to, and shout out to Hanray, he's one of my favorite podcasts, and he's a mentor to me in the podcasting space. Like even with him, he was the only person doing it, and for me, I had certain questions and certain ways I wanted to. There's certain things I wanted to know, so I was like, okay, let me do it. So that's the reason why I started Tech Woke, is the questions that I had, and I know other people had it. I'll ask them. Like even a couple questions I had to you, like AI biases. Like people want to know that. Some people want to even ask that. So that's
Yeah.
the reason I did it, and that's the reason why I meet with people like Fatima, a Shanae, or Simone Bees, a Hanray, or anybody. Just let it know it's possible and know that you can do it over time.
Awesome. And thank you for doing this. And I think the more people that know that have the information, the better they'll be able to present themselves going through this process, and just have more uh have solace in knowing that it's like you said, it's not just them going through it. We're all going through it together and utilizing different resources.
Okay. Okay, so for team, I always ask one question. So we're gonna get off questions and like you said, this is a lot of free information that if you watch it, you can learn a lot. So I'm glad they have this repository that'll be here on YouTube forever. But one question I always ask is there one quote? Is there something, a quote, a statement, anything you want to lead the audience with?
Definitely. So I feel like we're all here to help each other, to serve each other, and be kind to each other. So if you lead with integrity, if you lead with compassion and courage, I think the opportunities will find you, because people tend to help people who are genuine. So I think if you keep that at the forefront of your mind, I think you'll go far.
Okay, that's good. Hey, if you legit genuine, you following your faith, you're doing things because with genuinely, it would always come back to you. You always have a job. You always have God will never leave you in a situation where you're gone, when you won't have anything. He always make sure you got something to eat. You know.
Exactly. And I think if you just sit back and look at, even though where you may be right now is not where you want to be, just take inventory of where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and how far you've come from there, and see how God has done all of these things in your life. That will give you the extra energy that you need to keep pushing. So definitely.
And also Fatima too. What is your goals in the next 5 years? I forgot to ask. What is your goals? Anything you want to do?
Yeah, I want to do a lot of things. I think one, just continuing to grow my business and be able to do more of this, being able to go out and talk with people and do more conferences and platforms and podcasts, excuse me, and just being able to help as many people as possible is what brings me joy. So I think at the forefront, being able to do that. I also would love to be able to get into a role where I could do community engagement, or do something within the community, because that's another passion of mine. I serve on two boards, two nonprofit boards of two nonprofits, where I work with kids and I help them prepare them for their next steps. And I think just being able to be of service to others is something that's needed, and that's overlooked. So, being able to have a role where I can do that will really give me an opportunity to implement the things that I've learned along the way, and take them into a new area, and be able to connect communities with opportunities, whether it be in technology, whether it be in healthcare, finance, because those are all the different industries I've had an opportunity to work in. So just being able to mesh everything together. And then lastly, just being able to travel and spend, more time with family, and, just really live, because we're not promised a whole lot of time. So we have to make use of the time that we have here.
I love that. You got to make use because nothing's never promised. It's never guaranteed you're going to see your loved ones again. So it's good to spend time with them and travel and see things that you haven't seen before while you're here.
Yep, definitely.
And shout out to Jesse. He said, "Great presentation. I can't wait next week for my chance to be on. Also agree with integrity and genuine." Yeah, that's what I try to align myself with in general. It's okay to make money. It's okay to do things. But for me, I align myself with honest people. I love honest people because 9 times out of 10, their integrity, it comes with it. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Exactly. And I mean, that takes you further. I mean, money isn't everything. Yes, it's important, but it doesn't lead, you shouldn't lead just by that.
Yeah, so yeah, I understand. So Fatima, I usually pray before the podcast, but I feel the need to pray before we slowly get off. But let's pray real quick, if you don't mind. The audience, if you're in there and want to pray, it's a lot of things going on, if you don't mind. So I'm gonna just pray real quick.
All
So,
right.
the Father God, thank you for bringing us for this podcast. Thank you for getting all this information. There's a lot of people out here that need jobs, opportunities, guidance, and I pray that they was able to get this information. With everything that's going on in the government, I pray they are getting opportunities, and I pray they are guided to other opportunities as well. So, thank you, God, for bringing this podcast together. Thank you for bringing Fatima on here to get us great information. Thank you, God, in Jesus' name, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So, just to close things out for everybody, if you're on YouTube, remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. Also, check out rmfacademy.io if you're trying to learn about RMF, risk management, any of that's in the cybersecurity space in the federal government. Uh, Remember, if you're on LinkedIn, also share the video, comment. Make sure you push the podcast out. This podcast is meant to help all the different people, that any race, anybody that's trying to get into the tech space, cybersecurity space, or just trying to learn knowledge. So make sure you share it out, because if you're not sharing it, if you're not liking, you're not subscribing, doesn't help push the channel out to get to all those people. So remember, everybody, get 1% better every day. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one. And thank you, Fatima.
You're welcome. Thank you.